Okay, now let's talk about the delegate style of leadership. The visual metaphor here is of a father teaching his son how to catch fish. Now, as the analogy goes, give a man a fish and you can feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish and you can feed him for a lifetime. You can imagine how powerful your team would become if they could all catch fish for themselves. Now, the delegate style of leadership delivers just that and more. Now, the delegate style is the ultimate style for teaching your team to take full responsibility, and it requires you to use your coaching skills to be effective. Now, the most important difference between the leadership styles is that when you use the delegate style, you give the choice on how the project or task is done over to the employee. So they get to decide how the project or task is done. In all of the other styles, you decide how the project or task should be done, even after giving the team full participation. With the delegate style, they get to decide how the project or task is done. You simply specify what outcome you want, the essential parameters, so things like the budget, time frame, and of course the context. Now, I'll clearly state this to you because this is very, very important. You never lose control of the project. If you're not happy with the direction that the project is taking, you simply coach the employee back to the right path. And importantly, we build in some key steps into the structure of the delegate style to ensure that you never ever lose control and that all expectations are met. This is very, very important. For this reason, we only ever delegate projects that are not business critical, not urgent. They must have a long lead-in time. I cannot stress those 2 points enough. You never delegate a project that is business critical. The reason is that if it's related to business continuity and the business is relying on this, you can't use projects or tasks as developmental exercises that could potentially lead to the bankruptcy of the company. This does happen. So be very, very careful. You never ever delegate a business critical task. That's something that you have to do yourself. And you never delegate tasks that are urgent. They must have a long lead in time. So in accordance with the graph, we only delegate to high readiness people, meaning people with the experience, skill, and maturity to do the task without close supervision. So people with high readiness. Now it's important to get this right because if you get this wrong and the project fails, the employee becomes demotivated, they become disheartened, but they'll also stop trusting you and the business can potentially be damaged too. It really happens. I was brought in to a hospitality business years ago, which had a very smart and ambitious senior management team. And I was brought in by the owner. And the reason I was brought in was because there had been loss of trust between the senior management team and the owner of the business. And here's what had happened. The owner of the business had requested the senior management team to come up with project plans to refit one of the restaurants owned by the company. Now, the young, very talented team had gone away and it had come up with detailed plans on how to refit the restaurant, what it would look like. It had details for the chairs they should buy, the tables they should buy, the kitchen equipment they should buy, the designs, the whole thing. And it had taken them 3 months to do this plan. He'd taken a very hands-off approach to this. He had basically delegated the project to the team and said, come back to me whenever it's finished. And that was 3 months later. Unfortunately, when the team came back 3 months later with the plans, it was way off of his expectations. He could not pull the trigger on this project. He would not commit funds to this project because it was so far off expectations. Unfortunately, as you can imagine, this had devastated the team. They had spent 3 months of blood, sweat, and tears coming up with this plan. Their heart was into this plan, but this is not what he wanted, and he had asked them to start again. And that's when I got brought in. As you can imagine, trust was completely obliterated between the owner and that team. And in all honesty, it never really returned. So let's look at how to use the delegate style so you can avoid that happening and which 2 steps would have avoided this problem in the first place. Now, I imagine many of you are asking yourself right now, why would I use the delegate style? Given all the risks, why would I use the delegate style? Now, firstly, in truth, you'll rarely use this style. You'll rarely use the delegate style. But if you're career-minded, which I'm guessing that you are, I want you to understand that you will never be promoted to more senior positions within your company until there is somebody in your team who can take your job. Now, I have no doubt that you personally are technically excellent at what you do, be it sales, marketing, operations. But organizations don't like to change these balances, and they don't like to take risks with business continuity simply for your career ambitions. Now, you must have someone in place to take your role, or you simply will not be moved to the next level. How? Now, there's a simple method for delegating which expands on the other styles of leadership. As with the other styles, first you're going to give the context. So that's how it's aligned with the customer, mission, vision, and values for the organization. Then, of course, you'll give them the details of the problem or the project, what outcome you want, and of course the deadline and any other constraints, budgetary constraints maybe. What you'll also do with this style is you will tell the employee why you chose them personally for the project. It's important that the employee starts with some confidence before they do the project, so you want to tell them why you chose them. Now, the critical 2 steps that you must get in is, first of all, you want to tell the employee that you want them to come back to you with a rough sketch or a rough plan on how they will approach the project within the next 48 hours. The next critical step is that you'll tell them that you'll meet every week for a project update. Now, the 48-hour check is key because it checks that the employee fully understands the scope of the project and that what they're going to do is within expectations. The weekly check-in is simply to offer support and coaching, and again, make sure that expectations are being met and everything's on track. Remember, you already know how to do the project. You're delegating this as a developmental opportunity for the employee. Now, it seems so simple, but I've got to tell you that nearly all managers that I've worked with over the years fail to keep track adequately during the delegation process when they're delegating a project. I mean, they often wait, a week or 2 before the deadline, and they check in on progress. And if they're not happy at that point, if they're worried that the deadline won't be met, then they're likely to take the project back. That is an avoidable problem. As I mentioned, how the project is done is up to the employee, and you need to coach the employee through the project. You don't give them the solution. You're just going to ask open questions to challenge and guide the employee to the solution all by themselves. Now, this is both the most difficult, but by far the most valuable skill that any manager can possess. So let me demonstrate.
Okay, so let's demonstrate now the delegate style. Now, delegate style, you won't use it so often. The reason is that it requires a long lead-in time and it cannot be business critical. And you will only delegate to people who have high readiness. Okay, high readiness, that's very, very important. So let me demonstrate how it's done and you'll understand why. So of course it's okay, I have a project for you and I'd like you to own this project. As you know, the company wants to reach out to FMCG companies and increase our sales in that area so that next year we're protected against a possible recession, because many analysts are saying there might be a recession next year. So I want you to increase sales in FMCG. I want you to increase sales in that area. Now, this is your project. I'm going to give this to you.
Okay.
You don't have to answer me right now about how you're going to do this, but how you do this project is up to you.
Okay.
All right. This is your chance to shine. It's just the right stage in your career to take this one on. I've got a lot of belief and faith that you can pull this off. How you do it's up to you. All right. But what I want you to do is I want you to come back to me in 48 hours, 2 days, with a plan on how you're going to approach this project, just the steps that you're going to follow and how you will approach this project. And then from then on, we will meet every week.
Okay.
All right. So we'll have, I'll give you as much support as you need. Of course, come back to me and tell me what resources you need, what budget you need, and so forth. Then we'll meet every week to make sure we're on track and that I can help you to succeed in this project. How does that sound?
Okay, that sounds perfect. Yeah.
Fantastic. Excellent. Okay, come back to me in 2 days with that plan. Any questions you've got, of course, come back to me in the meantime.
Okay.
To the delegated style. Obviously, in reality, I would have given a lot more detail on what outcome I want from that particular project. But you understand the idea. The idea is that I don't dictate how the project is done. I don't lose control because he comes back to me in 2 days' time with a plan and we meet every week. But how the project is done is up to Kosuke-san here. It's up to him how he does it. So of course it's very motivating for him. It's a stretch for him. It's a development opportunity for him. And the delegate style is a very powerful development tool and leadership style. It's in your arsenal. It's one of the 4 leadership styles you've got to choose from.
Okay, now it's your turn. Which situation, i.e. the task and person combination, do you currently have that is suitable for the delegate style? Now I'd like you to practice on your own or with your practice partner using the delegate style. Now use the exact words that you would use and remember to get in those 2 key steps. Remember to get in the 48-hour check and mention that there will be a weekly update meeting. Pause the lesson now. Well done. Now let's reflect. How will the delegate style help you to achieve your short-term goal and your career goal? So during the role play, what did you learn about using the delegate style? What did you learn?